Moms, dads, all parents, back to school time. Come on now. You ready? I see you. I see some of you moms out there, some of you dads out there. You're going, man, I've been ready for this day, this time since they let my kids out of school at the beginning of summer. Yes, I'm ready. Mama needs a break. Daddy needs a break. Come on now, right? Other ones are going, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for the schedule change. I'm not ready for all the different things that are going on, the different challenges, the different struggles. I'm not ready for the different schedules, which if you have multiple kids especially, and you got one of those multicolored calendars, you got like 47 different colors on your calendar because of so many different activities you're trying to keep track of, so many different schedules. You got your kids' activities, sports, hang time, now school time. You got your schedule, your spouse's schedule. It's a lot. It's a lot. Shoot, I'm getting stressed just talking about it. Goodness gracious, it's a lot going on. So some of you are going, you're not ready. And by the way, you haven't done your back to school shopping yet? Kiddos got to have a nice new bag full of all these supplies. I don't even know what most of the supplies are kids have nowadays. Now that bag is going to be full of something. I don't know. So there's a lot going on. Not to mention, the school clothes and the bedtimes that are changing, the dinner time, meal prep, all that kind of stuff, physical activity. And what is happening is we're taking the summertime activities, free range play, right? You get outside time, you get some activities, you get inside time, there's some reading time, some video game time, some vacation time, some family time, friend hangout time, do nothing time, all that. Now we're gonna say, hey kids, gonna need you to behave, gonna need you to be quiet, gonna need you to raise your hand before you want to talk. Just sit there and focus and listen and do your work, and then take home anything else. And when you're completely exhausted and stressed out, come back tomorrow. We're going to do the same exact thing tomorrow. Sounds great, right? Sounds great for the kiddos and sounds great for mom and dad whose schedule is completely rearranged now. It sounds amazing and great. Yeah. So that can be stressful for any adult. Definitely going to be stressful for the kiddos. But can you imagine if your kiddos are dealing with or struggling with some forms of ADHD, spectrum disorders, some sensory stuff that they have going on? That just creates even more of a challenge, even more issues to deal with. And so what we're hoping to do, and I hope this video is going to do, in fact, just so I don't forget, there's a link down below that you can click on that'll give you some quick tips for hopefully a smoother transition through all of this. So it's going to be a struggling time anyway, but maybe that struggle time can be minimized and we can make the transition a little smoother if we can all help each other out just a little bit. So I don't want to forget to tell you that, because going back to school, it's going to be a little bit traumatic, and it's going to be a lot going on, and it's tough to adapt to. Right, between the bedtimes, the physical activities, the meal times, the family times, the post-school time where you are reviewing the stuff with the kiddos anyway, early mornings out the door, late nights getting home. There's a lot that's going on. Hopefully we can make this transition a little smoother. So we do have a couple of tips that we want to tell you about just to see if maybe we can help make a difference and get through this transition a little more smoothly. So moms and dads, if you have a kiddo that you know is going to struggle a little extra with this transition, I'd love for you to watch this entire video, not only for the tips that we're going to go through, but we're going to get into a little bit of that neurophysiology behind what's causing these sorts of issues and what we can possibly do to help, especially once we get into some of the later points. It may be something that you haven't thought of before, or maybe no one's explained that process to you before. So I'm excited to get into that and see if there's something that we can help with. For example, there are going to be some times when having that ADHD type brain that's go, 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 go is going to be extremely, extremely beneficial for you. Other times, usually those buckle down and focus school times, probably not going to be as beneficial. But that's where these little tricks and tips come in. So it's not all bad. It's not all good. We got some of both. We got a gas pedal and a brake pedal. We want to try to find the middle ground here. So let's go. Let's get after it. First thing, the first tip, the first hint is gonna be based on sleep time, sleep habits. Do you have a bedtime? I mean, imagine when you don't have a consistent bedtime, how you feel, how you sleep, how your day goes, how your morning goes the next morning, right? If you have a planned bedtime and it's early enough, we know that the brain is going to get into some more deep sleep, some REM sleep, and that's extremely important. In fact, if you are going to bed at a time and then all of a sudden you're staying up later or inconsistent, your brain actually goes into a protective mode and it thinks something's wrong because you're supposed to be sleeping. That's when your body heals and regenerates and does all the good stuff. So if you're having an inconsistent bedtime, there's a good chance you're not getting good sleep because the brain won't allow you to because it thinks that there's a threat. Now, if you have a consistent bedtime where you know, hey, screen's off, TV's off, we're not doing any of that kind of stuff for an hour or two before bedtime, and we got a specific bedtime and we're sticking to it, now all of a sudden we're creating some routine and the brain can get used to that. It's not just a scheduling issue and, oh man, this is going to be so much easier if we could just get this scheduled, but the brain will actually relax and recover and heal a little bit better. And if you have one of those kiddos that is struggling with ADHD, or shoot, maybe it's you. I think most of the time I have that issue as well. My brain is constantly go, 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 go. And a brain like that, it needs more rest. It needs to get into those deep sleep or REM cycles. It just needs to. It's going to be so much more beneficial and set the stage for something more easy and more relaxing, more prepared and more protected. The next thing is going to be having an organized home environment. So you may already be doing this part. You got your calendars that are structured and colored, coded, and you know that when your kiddo comes home, stuff goes over here, bag goes here, homework goes here, you're listing stuff and prepping it for tomorrow. You got all that squared away, and that's great because it's so important to have a routine for something like that. So the brain's not constantly searching for what it's doing next. Or if school is stressing kiddo out and the brain just goes into hyperactivity mode, let's have that stuff set away in a specific spot so you don't constantly see it and trip over it. So just going to be extremely beneficial for you and for your kiddo. The third part to this kind of just tailors off of number two. Outside of having an organized and structured home piece, you want to have a dedicated work or study time area. That way, it's not just random all over the house and triggering the brain into these stressful ideas, activities, and environments. We have a very specific spot that says, hey, if we're going to cover homework, if we're going to cover school day activities, we're doing it here. If we got to do some studies, we're doing it here. If there's some issues as far as school and preparation and what we need to talk about, deal with, and get ready for, it happens here. That way the brain gets used to it. It can rewire specifically. And we know that nerves that fire together wire together. So we just want to make sure that there's a nice, calm, relaxing time and area, space at home so that the brain isn't constantly moving and it can relax. Fourth piece is very, very important, and it may surprise you, but I don't think this gets enough credit actually. When we talk about physical activity with ADHD or sensory disorders or neurological deficits, spectrum stuff, physical activity is so important. And oftentimes that's one of the first things that goes away, especially once we go back to school. Physical activity is so important for the brain. It not only activates the brain, but it integrates the brain. It organizes the brain. As we get up in the morning, especially in the morning, if we can get our kiddos a little bit of physical activity, even if it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes, take them for a walk around the neighborhood. Have them do some jumping jacks, burpees. I'm just kidding. I don't think any kids are going to do burpees, but it'd be funny if they did. Any sort of physical activity to get them moving is going to help stimulate their brain so that their brain can get that activity going and it's already working, as opposed to getting straight out of bed, hopping in the car, going to sit down in the classroom, and now the brain goes into freak out mode because now there's forced structure, forced silence, and forced behavioral things going on. Whereas if we can get a little bit of physical activity before, not only are we getting nourishment to the brain, but we're getting the brain that stimulation that it needs. It's got to have that stimulation so everything isn't just stuck in the brain, everything going haywire. And now all of a sudden we're stressed and we're having freak out moments, and now behavioral issues. Mom and dad are getting a phone call and letters home from the teachers. Physical activity is just so important. If you want to be a champion, 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, 5 or 10 minutes at night. When they get home, another quick walk around the neighborhood. Go down to the mailbox a couple of times. Find some sort of activity where you're, as a family, just tossing or kicking the ball around in the backyard for 10 minutes. You won't believe the amount of change that can happen just from that, just from adding a little bit of that physical activity. Now, maybe you've tried all that. Maybe you've done all this stuff. You've done the calendars and the structured stuff. You got a solid bedtime that you've been using and it works and you're sticking to it, and that's amazing. Good for you. Maybe you have your quiet time or your study time all scheduled and you have a certain area of the house that's all working. Maybe you do the physical activity stuff also. Maybe you've done some occupational therapy stuff as well. Maybe you've dabbled with some meds or not. Maybe you've talked to different counselors, or your kiddos are doing different things that they need to do. You're trying all these different things and it just doesn't quite seem to be getting you where you want to go. This next piece, maybe one of the most important pieces if you haven't ever heard of it. If there's something just still that's not clicking. So if you've tried all that, you've implemented everything you can possibly think of, and your kiddo is still struggling, over struggling, and the quality of life just isn't there, isn't what it should be, and you and the family are just still struggling with this, maybe this is a clear sign that they have an issue or an imbalance with their central nervous system, and their central nervous system is just stuck in fight or flight mode. If you've never thought about that, maybe it's time to think about neurologically focused chiropractic, because when the central nervous system gets stuck in that fight or flight mode, there's a huge imbalance between the fight or flight and the rest and digest. Stress just gets stuck like a gas pedal gets stuck on, and go, 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 go. And the way that it gets stuck throughout the nervous system and throughout the brain, the body and the brain can't just relax. It can't focus that well because there's so much going on and so much activity, and there's just so much distraction, so much proprioception going on, and we need to add a little brake pedal to it. There's a term called subluxation, which means that that gas pedal of stress is stuck on. What we do as neurologically and neuro-focused chiropractors, we go and can give a detailed check and assessment with some specific technology to find where those areas of stuck energy are. So we can find them, correct them, unstuck them. Is that a technical term? Anyway, we're going to unstuck them. Allow that gas pedal a little relief while gently applying a little bit of the brake pedal. See, we need more of a balance, usually, is what's going on. And as we see that start to occur, we see not only the kiddo, but the entire family move from struggling and anxiety to thriving and connection and success and health and connection. That is great. The problem is, if no one's told you to look for this, then you don't know, right? And seriously, if you've done everything else, but you haven't seen the results that you want to see, and you haven't checked out neurotonal chiropractic, maybe that is just the next step. And it doesn't matter if it's a 3 or 4 year old, 5-year-old, 15, 18, 20-year-old kid. 20-year-olds kids? I don't know. My point being, it doesn't matter. But if you're a parent of one of these kiddos, then you could probably think back to even the birthing process. Was the pregnancy difficult or stressful for you, Mom? Was the pregnancy, the labor, the delivery, was that pretty traumatic? And now that's the baby that's going to grow up there. You start noticing that they have some neurodevelopmental delays, some sensory issues. They throw extra tantrums. They're a little behind. They're colicky. And the pediatrician tells you that they'll just grow out of it. Well, what we found is they do not grow out of it. They grow into other issues, into other problems, specifically neuro problems, whether it be some sort of autoimmune issues, allergies, asthma, autism, ADHD, that kind of stuff, anxiety issues all the time. And what we're able to do for all of these kiddos, even if they're 20 and not necessarily a kid, what we're able to do for everyone is to get them very specifically scanned with some neurological assessments to let us know very specifically where that stuck energy and tension and torsion in the nervous system is, so that we can go in and make a very specific neurotonal chiropractic adjustment to release some of that energy, to get it distributed a little more evenly. And at the same time, we're able to help engage that help engage that brake pedal a little bit. That brake pedal being the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest, digest, recover, heal, regenerate, focus, and learn part of the nervous system that needs to be engaged if we want to be able to do those sorts of things. And we got to have a balance. We have got to have a balance. So listen, if you found any of this video helpful at all, make sure to download the links that are down below, not just because it's going to be some good tips, but there is some other information that will help dive a little bit deeper into the neurology parts of this. If you're interested at all in any of that, please feel free to DM us, reach out with questions, text, call, email. Check out our other social media stuff. We got some other good stuff on there, or our website. And like I said, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Just throw a comment out there. We'll get back to you. But do us a favor, and if you know someone in the same situation that we're talking about, share this information with them so that they can actually have a better understanding. They can read through some of those tips and some of the neurology behind what's going on. And maybe we can help make the school year and stressful anxiety, potential events and emotions and situations a little more calm, a little more relaxed, a little more enjoyable, so that we can start thriving, having a great time. Kids are going off to school smiling, high-fiving, and kicking butts, and it's just awesome. So let us know.